Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us for Sunday School at To God Be the Glory Ministry, where we are located at 1313 Capps Hill Mine Road in Charlotte, North Carolina. I hope that you have been enjoying our series on Casket Empty, which is a series created by Professor Carol Kaminsky and David Palmer over at Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary. If you are enjoying these videos, I urge and encourage you to check out our website at www.tgbtgm.org, where you can give to our PayPal site that way, or you can check us out at Givelify as well by searching for us at To God Be the Glory Ministry at 1313 Capps Hill Mine Road. Remember, in continuing with Casket Empty, is to tell the one story of redemption from Genesis to Revelation, and it stands for creation, Abraham, Sinai, kingdom, exile, temple, expectation, Messiah, Pentecost, teaching, and yet to come. Today, we are going to continue with our second video on kingdom, and we're going to focus on the northern kingdom. So what happens in the kingdom is we have Rehoboam, who now becomes king after his father Solomon. And Rehoboam decides that he's going to tax the kingdom even heavier than his father did. And the reason why this separation, this tension is going on is because, remember, Solomon has 700 wives and 300 concubines, and all of this intermingling leads him astray from God. And God decides he's going to take the kingdom away from Solomon. But because of his covenant with David, he does not take the whole kingdom away. So the first kingdom of Israel is Jeroboam. And Jeroboam, he does not do everything that is in the sight of God. And because he doesn't want the kingdom in the north to continue to go down to Jerusalem to worship, he creates and builds two golden calves, very similar to what we saw in Sinai, and he puts one in Dan and one in Bethel. And he just leads Israel into this idolatrous relationship that continues throughout the whole time. So we're not going to cover every single king because that would take up quite a bit of our video. But there is another king that we do want to discuss as we look at the kingdom of Israel. And after Jeroboam sets this horrible precedent for all of the kings to follow, there is a new king named Ahab who takes over. And Ahab is about the worst of the kings that the north has ever had. His father, named Omri, sets up a new city called Samaria, where all of the northern kings rule from there. And Ahab gets married to a woman by the name of Jezebel. And Jezebel, she is a known worshiper for Baal, and she pretty much helps institute this worship of Baal into the northern kingdom. And Baal essentially means Lord when we translate it. And so they have all these worshipers of Baal. There's this sacrifice, this crazy worship that is going on, and it does not please God. So what does God do? He sends Elijah. Elijah is a very prominent prophet, and he is there to challenge Ahab and try and turn the hearts of the people of God back to the Lord. And what we see with Ahab and his descendant, the person who takes up after him, his heir in Elisha, is we see that with the prophets, this is how God is going to try and get his people back to him. So from Ahab, there comes a new king named Jehu. And Jehu, what he does is he is sent by God to punish Ahab. And he kills all of the sons of Ahab, including Jezebel. He kills all of the worshipers of Baal, but he still leaves those two golden calves. Now, from Jehu, there is this new surging kingdom called Assyria, and they are a horrible and a fierce army. And Jehu could either go to war with them or he could pay tribute to them so as not to allow the kingdom of Israel to be taken over. And he decides to pay them tribute. And this is something that each king after him will continue to do to avoid war and conflict with Assyria. And next, we're going to jump ahead into the future with a few kings, and we're going to look at a king by the name of Jeroboam II. Jeroboam II, we don't see a whole lot written about him in the Bible, but what's important about him is that there are three major prophets who write during the reign of Jeroboam, and we kind of get a good visual of what is going on during the kingdom of Jeroboam II. And these prophets are Amos, Hosea, and Jonah. Amos, he is really calling out against the lack of justice, the amount of bribes, and just the harsh treatment and abuse of the poor. Hosea challenges Israel's worship of all of these foreign gods that they have. In fact, his marriage to a woman who is not faithful mirrors exactly the relationship between the Lord and Israel. Jonah is one of the most peculiar prophets that we see in the Old Testament because he tries to run away from what God is calling him to do. See, Jonah is called to go to the capital city of Assyria in Nineveh and to really call repentance against them and for them. But Jonah tries to run away, and he ends up getting swallowed by this big fish. He ultimately dies and is resurrected back to life for this sole purpose. So Jonah eventually goes into the capital city of Nineveh, into Assyria, and he preaches such a heavy message of repentance that Nineveh actually repents. Go figure. And here is Jonah's response for being so successful in the call that the Lord gave to him. He's mad. He is so disappointed that God does not destroy the kingdom of Assyria. And it's a very interesting book. I encourage you to check out Jonah. From Jeroboam II, we're going to go into the latter few kings. And once again, we're seeing that with the last king of Israel, his name is Hoshea. And with Hoshea, he decides that he is not going to continue to pay the tribute. And eventually he gets taken over by Assyria. In Assyria, they bring all these other ethnicities and all these other cultures into Samaria, and they begin to intermingle and cross-populate with a lot of the marriages and a lot of the worship, including the worship of the Lord. And so what we see from the kingdom of the north is we start to see the rise of the position of a prophet. And a prophet is the mouthpiece of God, called to bring forth the actual utterance of God, to change the heart of the people of God back unto God. In Assyria, they take over the northern kingdom, utterly destroyed, and they raise up this new city called Samaria. That is what's going on in the northern kingdom. And I know we've skipped around quite a bit just for the sake of time, but that is really what we get from the gist of the kingdom of the north, is that they not one time worship the true Lord. So what's going on in the southern kingdom, you might ask? Join us next week and let's see what happens.